I was 19, stubborn as a mule, and convinced my parents were the enemy. Looking back, I was just a dumb kid picking fights over nothing. But this particular evening, things got ugly. My dad finally snapped and told me to get out, just for a few hours to cool off. But in my brilliant teenage mind, I decided to teach them a lesson by disappearing entirely. I had no plan. Maybe one night, maybe 3. I had not thought it through at all. I just wandered downtown, kicking stones, fuming, until the anger faded. Then I noticed the sun had vanished. I needed somewhere to crash. A friend's couch crossed my mind, but their folks would call my parents, and that would make everything worse. So I did what any reckless kid would do. I chose the abandoned house. Have you ever made a decision so stupid you still cringe years later? That old place had been empty my whole life. I had snuck in once or twice during daylight with friends, and it was just a dusty, forgotten building, nothing scary. So I figured I would camp out there, even if I stayed awake all night. By the time I reached the property, it was almost 10 p.m. The street had dead-ended years ago, and past that was a vine-choked driveway. I knew I was trespassing, so I scanned the road, waited until no cars passed, and slipped through the rusted gate. The trees swallowed the house completely. I nearly walked into it before I saw the walls. The place was rotting into the earth. Vines covered every window, but the same broken door from my childhood visits still hung open. Inside was pitch black. Every other opening was boarded tight. I realized immediately I would not sleep a wink in there, but curiosity got the better of me. What was I even hoping to find? I crept upstairs, maybe 5 minutes in, when I heard it. Creaks, coming from the floor I had just left. Not the house settling, those were footsteps. I froze halfway up the stairs. Then a door groaned open near the entrance. My throat went dry. Whoever was down there was standing between me and the only exit. Fear does not make you brave. It makes you very, very still. I waited. 10 minutes, maybe 15. No movement, no sound. My brain started bargaining. Maybe they had left quietly. Maybe the door swung on its own. But I had to move eventually. I crept down step by step, peered around the corner. Nothing. Took another step, looked toward the front door. A man stood there, already staring at me. "Do not move, kid." His voice was deep, slurred. I noticed the uniform. A cop, I thought at first, but something was wrong. Why did his clothes hang off him like they belonged to someone else? "You alone out here?" He stepped closer. His face stayed buried in shadow, but I saw his head tilt, smiling maybe. The uniform was filthy, stretched, like he had stolen it off a much bigger man. "I asked you a question." I stammered that yes, I was alone. He took another step. "And what were you looking for?" I shook my head, could not speak. Then he turned and walked toward a dark side room, leaned against the frame, and crooked a finger. "Come here." The scariest invitation is the one you cannot refuse. Everything in me screamed that this was not a real officer, but he was not blocking the door anymore. He was just a few feet away. I made a split-second decision. I sprinted. His arm shot out. Fingers grabbed my collar, choked me for half a second, then slipped. I burst through the doorway and ran. Through the woods, across town. I did not stop until I reached my front yard. A police cruiser sat in my driveway. My parents had reported me missing hours ago. I stood there, shaking, said nothing about the abandoned house. What was I supposed to say? That I had run from a fake cop in a dead-end building? The 2 real officers never mentioned the place. That's how I knew for certain. If I had actually encountered law enforcement, every cop in the county would have had my description.
I put myself in that nightmare, no question, but I still don't believe I deserved whatever was waiting for me in that dark room. These stories don't leave you. Here's the second one. I grew up in a tiny farming town where absolutely nothing ever happened. That sounds peaceful, but trust me, as a teenager, it was suffocating. The most exciting thing we had was an abandoned farmhouse sitting on 200 acres of overgrown land. The owners had died decades before I was born. The county bought the property, threw up a fence and some no trespassing signs, and then just forgot about it. For years, every time we drove the back roads, we could see that old house rotting away in the distance, half swallowed by weeds. So one summer night, bored out of our skulls, my best friend Marcus and I decided to finally check it out. Have you ever done something just because there was literally nothing else to do? We parked his car on the edge of town and walked about a mile. We knew cops sometimes rolled through the area, so instead of crossing the wide open field, we followed the tree line around to the back. Getting up close for the first time was surreal. The wood had weathered to a dark, almost black color. Vines crawled up every wall, but surprisingly, the structure looked solid. We found an open window and climbed through. Inside, the air was thick with dust. Our flashlights cut through it in slow, moving beams. And it was silent. Not quiet, silent. The kind of silence that feels heavy, like something is pressing on your ears. We had only been walking for a minute when Marcus whispered my name. "Come look at this." He pointed at the ceiling. Between the floorboards above us, there was a faint orange glow, barely visible, just a thin, flickering light seeping through the cracks. How could there be a light in a house that had been empty for decades? And why was it flickering like a flame? We should have left right then. Every sane instinct said turn around and climb back out that window. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. We went upstairs. The second floor was just a narrow hallway with a row of closed doors, all of them shut, except under one door we could see it again, that orange glow, brighter this time, definitely pulsing, definitely not an electrical light. We stood there listening. Nothing. No voices, no footsteps, no breathing, just dead silence. How could a room full of light and people make absolutely no sound? I walked up to the door and pressed my ear against the wood. Still nothing. So I turned the handle and pushed it open slowly. The creak echoed through the whole house, and then I saw them. A group of people, maybe 3 or 4, kneeling in a circle in the middle of the room. Candles lit up the floor around them. I could barely make out their shapes, just hunched figures, completely motionless. Even after the door squeaked open, even after we had been walking around downstairs, they didn't move, didn't turn around, didn't even flinch. It was like they were frozen, or sleeping with their eyes open, or something worse. What were they doing? Why were they kneeling in the dark in a house that had been empty for 50 years? I only stared for maybe 3 seconds before Marcus grabbed my arm and yanked me back. We ran for the stairs, trying to be quiet but failing miserably. Every footstep sounded like a gunshot in my ears. We reached the window. Marcus climbed out first. I was right behind him when I heard it. Heavy footsteps running out of that room and down the stairs. Multiple sets of them. They were coming. I dove through the window and we sprinted for the woods. Branches whipped our faces. We didn't look back. We did not stop. We ran until our lungs burned and our legs gave out. Then we heard it. A loud slam from back at the farmhouse. Not a branch falling, not the wind. That was a window or a door getting shut hard. Deliberate. They knew we had been there. We didn't say a word on the walk back to the car. Our heads were pounding. Our hands were shaking. We couldn't even begin to piece together what we had actually seen. Marcus dropped me off at home. I went inside, locked every door, and did not sleep that night. Strangely, after a few days, we never really talked about it again. I think we both wanted to forget it even happened. When you experience something that terrifying, sometimes the only way to survive it is to bury it. When I finished high school, I moved away for college. Years later, I was driving through my hometown and passed by that old field. The house was gone, demolished, just an empty patch of grass. The house is gone now, but I still wonder if they got out. Some places are not just abandoned, some places are waiting, and the scariest thing you can do is open the door. If you've ever had a close call like these, hit like and subscribe to Winds of Thought. We dig into real stories that stick with you.
Share your own experience in the comments. You never know who else might have seen the same thing.